All right. Good afternoon, everyone in New Bedford. We're here with our weekly visit with Mayor Jon Mitchell. We'd like to do this every week that we can do this. Time permit with the mayor and myself. So welcome, Mayor Mitchell. Haven't seen you in a couple of weeks, but hope all is well.
All is well, Mike. Hope all is well with you. And just to let everybody know, we had some technical issues on our end, so I apologize that we're running a little bit late today.
Yeah, I guess. So that for people out there, if you have a question for the mayor, just ask and we'll throw it out there. So just throw it in the comments. You got anything in your neighborhood you have concerns with, citywide, some state issues that might affect New Bedford, just ask it. I guess the first question that we've gotten a lot of comments and questions on New Bedford Guide is, are we going to have a 4th of July fireworks?
Yes and no, Mike. We're going to have fireworks, but they will actually be held on July 3rd. I think we're about to put out a press release on that, but yeah, that's the Saturday night. And yes, fireworks are back. 4th of July fireworks are back, but not on the 4th of July. It'll be the 3rd of July. And that's, they were, the reason for it essentially is that the vendors that we're looking at weren't available on July 4th. There were some that were available on July 4th, but we try to maintain certain standards around what on the show that we offer the public. We want a good show, and so we thought, well, July 3rd works well. Also, just given that it's a Saturday night, so yeah, so people can expect it at July 3rd, and so we look forward to it. It'd be great. It'd be nice to, after skipping last year, it'd be great to see.
So it'll be the standard. You can kind of be downtown. They'll fire fireworks off the barge in the harbor. It's going to be that standard.
Right. And, there are many places to watch. Right. So we certainly encourage people to go out beforehand and afterward to our bars and restaurants. But those fireworks can be seen all over the place, down in the south end, up in the north end, over in Fairhaven, even as far away as Acushnet. And beyond, but the best views tend to be right in the downtown. But people can look forward to that this year, and it'll be exciting.
Yeah, I think you should send a bill over to Fairhaven because they get free fireworks every year.
I'll take that up with them. Yeah, we have some corporate sponsors too. We're pursuing some. We know the Bay Coast Bank has anteed up. We appreciate that, and. There will be there are a couple of other corporate sponsors that may be in the mix as well. So we appreciate the support that they've given us to make this happen this year.
Yeah, if you could give us, I guess, a status on COVID. I'll pull up the vaccine article. You can get vaccines this weekend. We can talk about after. But if you can just give me the status of COVID in New Bedford.
Well, we've come down a lot, obviously, and last week the daily average over the previous 14 days was 4 cases a day. Now we're down to about 3 cases a day, and the positive rate is under 2. So that's all good. It's a far cry from where we were several weeks ago, and certainly a few months ago. The vaccination rate here is for first doses is about 44%. Maybe it's about 45%. Now, which is low. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. We are low in every demographic group in the city. But the region itself, when I say the region, not just Greater New Bedford, but all of southeastern Mass, is lower than the national average and much lower than the state rate. So, look, I think we've reached the point now where we're promoting vaccines, of course. People have heard for me, what their benefits are. We will continue to make the shots readily available to people in conspicuous public spaces, either by employers or by grocery stores and public parks. We will continue to do that for the foreseeable future. And if people are reluctant, if people, are like, I'm not sure I want it, there's probably not a lot, candidly, that I can say to persuade you, but, obviously, virtually everybody will take medicine prescribed by their doctors, and this is frankly just another medication, and broadly speaking. And so, talk to your doctor about it. Get your doctor's opinion about whether it makes sense for you. That's about all I can say at this point. So we encourage, but again, if you haven't had a chance yet and you're interested, they're all over the place, those clinics, and yeah, you'll continue to get from the city with your first dose a $20 Dunkin' Donuts gift card, Mike. So it's not a bad deal.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, and people can see on the screen there. So COVID-19 vaccination clinics are planned for this weekend in New Bedford. No appointment is needed at the walk-up clinics. All New Bedford residents receiving their first dose will receive a $20 Dunkin' gift card. There's 2 locations, the NAACP of Greater New Bedford on 95 Cedar Street. That's on Saturday from 1 to 4. Fort Tabor Park, everyone knows that in the South End. That's going to be on Sunday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So the New Bedford Health Department is on site, take care of that. So there's no reason. You get that Dunkin' Donut gift card, get your first shot. So it's not for the second shot, it's the first shot. So we want to get people started on the process.
That's exactly right. I appreciate you showing that. And there'll be more clinics as the weeks go on. So, come one, come all.
Yeah. So next I want to talk about, so obviously had big news this week. We had Chief Cadero retire. So we have a new police chief, Paul Oliveira. So he's going to be the next chief of police. So when we got Chief Cadero, there was a process. I think it was like narrowed down to 3, and then a committee kind of gave you the approval. This one was just kind of deputy next up, right? So there wasn't really an approval process as far as anything else, or how did that go?
There wasn't, and here's why. Here's my take on how these things should go. The starting point is you want to hire the person most suited to do the job, and that means in police departments, in other city departments as well, if you have somebody who's been in the number 2 position, who's been right next to the throne for some period of time and has learned the ropes, has developed his or her leadership skills, who understands the nature of the organization, and where has a vision that's in keeping with mine. I don't run the department, but we sort of set the tone for city government from here. Somebody that I can work with, then that's who you go with. When you don't have like sort of the obvious heir apparent, then it makes sense to do a broader search. So 5 or 6 years ago, when Joe Cadero ultimately became chief, we had a situation, as you will recall, in which the incumbent chief, Dave Provencher, died suddenly, of course, and the deputy at the time, Dave Lizotte, was not interested in taking the chief's position. He was eminently capable of doing that, but he was not interested. He was about to retire himself. So then it made sense to throw open a search. And so that's what we did. Paul Oliveira was at the time was named by Joe Cadero to be the deputy chief. And so Paul's been in there for a while. I've known Paul for a long time. Paul is widely respected. I worked with him. I've worked with him as mayor to chief and deputy chief, but I've also, when I was an assistant U.S. attorney in Boston, I worked with Paul on a few cases that he brought up to me. And, he was a really good detective. And being a good detective, there are some commonalities between being a good detective and being a good leader in any context, and that commonality is good judgment. If you're grounded, if you have a good sense of people, if you listen, if you communicate clearly and sort of carefully weigh trade-offs and make good sound decisions based on the merits, then in the long run, you'll generate results. And that's what he has. It's a hard thing to teach. It's a hard, good judgment, that is, and it's a hard thing. Some people have it, some people don't. Some people who do have it because they've got a certain knack and they've developed it, but he has it. And so that's why he really commands my confidence and that of, I think, frankly, the whole department. So he will be a very effective chief for the city.
So one question I have, and now we got a new chief. Are you going to address? They had an issue with City Councilor Hugh Dunn, who was kind of released to the hospital. They didn't really do an OUI check. for the credit of, I think it's your administration and the police department, they kind of did an outside investigation, but it turned out they ended up charging him with an OUI based on, I don't know what information. Was that something that's going to be addressed kind of with the police department? Some people look at it as favoritism, a city councilor kind of let go. Is that something you've addressed with the chief at all?
Yes. I mean, he is, that happened during his time as acting chief, and he has launched an internal affairs investigation into that. And so, that's that. I can't tell you as I sit here exactly where that investigation is. It probably won't go on for much longer because I think they have pretty much all they need to know. But that is that's not something you can overlook, because there were indications that protocol was not followed there, and so when that happens, the department has to maintain its own internal discipline, and that's what he's doing.
All right, continuing on with the police department, we have a congratulatory kind of thing to announce here. So I know a few weeks ago, we talked and we said they were having a little trouble getting, cadets. We haven't seen a lot of applicants, but now we have a bunch. So I just want to read off a couple of their names. We have new police officers, right? So let me give you their names. So it's Stelvio Neto, Quinn Fallon, Michael McDonald, and Alexander Polson. You also have Jonathan Miranda, Cameron Gullo, Stephanie Connolly, and Brian Hurley. So I just want people to know, when you're taking on a new job like being a police officer in a city, any city across the country, in a time like, now where we're having a lot of police, new laws and new policing laws and that kind of stuff, it's a big step forward. And these people are jumping into a career that is, something that can be challenging and obviously with risk. So we just want to put those names out there. You were obviously there. You're on the top right of the photo. What advice do you give to the new officers?
Well, at those ceremonies, Mike, those ceremonies are invariably attended by, as you'd expect, the newly minted officers' families. So my comments are directed at both the new officers and the families. And of course, congratulate the new officers, and note just how important their vocation is. It's police do the most basic work to maintain civilized society, to enable us to do all the things that we do in the city, educate our children, have maintain great public amenities, to grow economically. When people don't feel safe, if the police department's not doing its job, those things are not possible. But I do emphasize at those swearings in that it's a long career. It's meant to be that way. And like any career, you have ups and downs. What's a little bit different about policing is that, over the course of one's career, there's more stress than the average, right? Police officers are subject, I think, to more stress than most folks are. Everybody understands that. But, the police officers' families do play a role in being a backstop and just helping them get through, some days in which, things might have been stressful and days when, they've done something good and they haven't been thanked for it, because you don't get thanked for all the good things you do if you're a police officer. And so I think that's an important element. I just try to remind them, I said, as you hit bumps in the road, remember this day, remember why you took the oath, remember the ideals you had and your commitment to service and your commitment to excellence. And that is what's going to not only get you through the tough days, but also make the job more gratifying in the long run. If you're developing yourself, if you're getting better all the time, you're continuing that commitment, this will be a very rewarding profession.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I guess I'll ask the question too. I know, Brian Gomes headed up the kind of the police reform effort that you worked with the city council on. Where are we at in that kind of a process? Has anything started? Are we evolving? Is it some kind of milestones that we're going to see over the next year or so?
Well, the recommendations of the use of force commission are being implemented. There were a set of policy changes that were recommended, and those are being written into the standard operating procedures of the department. So that's already being put into place. As we make this transition from one chief to another right now, I think one of the things that Paul brings to the table is an understanding that we have a very solid foundation in the New Bedford Police Department. We have we have in place a police department that has successfully shepherded a sharp decrease in violent crime and in property crime over the last several years. And so it's doing a lot of good right now. It can continue to do good, but there's also a recognition on his part that policing is changing, that in order to keep up with the times, that we have to understand like what kinds of responses are necessary given an evolving set of circumstances. And police officers are called upon to do a lot of different things these days, including, in effect, mental health counseling, marriage counseling, keeping the peace in every corner of the city and so forth. And New Bedford's not unique in this way. I think there is an opportunity, for us really, for New Bedford to become a model police department nationally. We do have, again, we've had some good momentum with crime reduction, and there's some areas where I think we can improve, again, in the area of data collection. I think there's got to be some more investment in training. There's certainly equipment investment, but I think that, as we'll see over the next few years, there'll be a very clearly articulated vision from Chief Oliveira, and I think that will hold us. That will set us on the right course.
Yeah, there was a major drug bust this week. I'm going to pull the photo while I read off kind of what happened. It was in New Bedford. The name is funny, but the drug is not. So investigators concluded a multi-year joint agency investigation into the Geraldo Rivera drug trafficking organization, which has been operating in greater New Bedford area. 5 residential search warrants in New Bedford and 2 in Rhode Island were executed, as well as 14 arrest warrants. So 14 people got arrested. And they seized a ton of fentanyl, not a ton, but I say that as a word, 100 grams of fentanyl, 50 grams of cocaine, $14,000 in cash. So I guess what I want to ask, let me just pull this. So I guess what I want to ask is, I don't know if you agree, Mayor, and a lot of people, come to this conclusion, the war on drugs is kind of like a failure. And really, we have to work on prevention more than, arrests. And these arrests are great. You're taking off these drug dealers. If someone out there is struggling with drugs, what would you recommend resources in the city of New Bedford?
Yeah. So if somebody's struggling with drugs, I mean, there are some options, the likes, we have a lot of capacity in this way. There are organizations like PACA and Seven Hills and a number of others that, have a broad suite of services for folks who in need, and they should reach out directly. They can reach out to the Bedford Health Department. We can get people plugged in that way. But I think what's tough here is that, I'm not sure that I know a lot of folks will say that the war on drugs is a failure, right? But these efforts do matter. The efforts at interdiction, which is what you just highlighted, right? Busting drug dealers, it's not alone sufficient. I mean, there has to be work on the prevention end, on the treatment end, the education end, and it's all of a piece. But all these efforts and considerable amount of resources have been spent over the last 50 years in dealing with the use of illegal drugs in this country. My own feeling is that those efforts have saved lives, and it might be hard to identify which lives those are, but I think we can say with confidence that it has saved many lives. And so I wouldn't, I'm not one of these people who says, well, just, it's a complete failure. Let's legalize every drug, fentanyl, carfentanil, heroin, and so forth. And I don't think that anybody wants a society like that. So, but there is a lot more to be done, especially on the treatment end. So those are the things that we work on all the time here.
Yeah, people don't know the health department's down in the Quest Center building. It's kind of right in the heart of downtown New Bedford by the old Glacier Glass. You should go there. There's little pamphlets outside, or just give them a call and have them point you to the right resources. Because really, at the end of the day, it's if the demand dries up, the supply also dries up, and that's the best way to beat the drug problem. And the police do this amazing job, interdicting, but it's just a nonstop battle against this thing. So I guess I'll just end with the final question. Is the city completely back open as far as COVID, or are we still kind of under some of the restrictions?
No, so there really aren't any restrictions left in place right now, with the exception of some restrictions in municipal buildings. We're still going to be requiring masks in the public spaces of municipal buildings through the end of the month, which is 2 weeks away. And the reason for that is just so that we have a transition for our city employees that they can be comfortable with, as the public starts coming back into municipal buildings as they did this week. We want to make sure that our employees feel safe, and so that's really it's really sort of a transitional step. But otherwise, no. The emphasis, Mike, as we know, is on vaccinations. We want people to get their shots, and for those who are, as I said before, who haven't been persuaded, look, there's nothing. I'm not a doctor. I'm probably not the one to persuade you, but I do think that you might talk to your doctor about the benefits of the vaccine and make your own decision. So we're not trying to force decisions on people. I don't think we could anyway, even if we wanted to. But talking to your doctor is probably the best thing.
Yeah, and I'll just end with just again, threw in the comments as a reminder, there's going to be free shots this weekend, NAACP on Saturday and Fort Tabor on Sunday. I put the link in the comments. You guys can click on that and go check that out and get the details. You can walk in. You don't have to make an appointment. It's for your first shot only. You get a $20 Dunkin' Donuts gift card. So I'll let you kind of end and close out, Mayor Mitchell.
Well, thanks, Mike. Look, there's a lot going on, right? So we're emerging from the pandemic, but what people will see over the next several weeks is a number of really big things happening on businesses and on people getting out and about to restaurants, of course, with the opening of new restaurants, the start of the beach season, of course, which has been big, the fireworks. There's a lot going on in New Bedford, and as summer goes into fall, you're going to see new investments and new businesses opening up. So, as I said from the start of the pandemic, our job was to deal with the crisis of the pandemic as best we could, but we had to walk and chew gum at the same time, and that meant keeping everything else going, making sure the city's finances were okay, making sure our streets are safe, that our kids are getting educated, and that businesses were continuing to invest in the city. And I think we'll see in the next few months New Bedford emerge very strong from this experience. And so we've got a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, and I forgot to post it. I'll post it in the comments later. This goes free concerts again at the Custom House Square Park, I believe. I'll put that in there. You get a lot of good musicians like Rebecca Correa and all those folks. So we'll put that in the comments. We want to open up the summer in a strong fashion, safe fashion as well. So thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week, and thanks for joining me, Mayor Mitchell.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mike.